the People's Podcast. What's up, y'all? This is DJ Busby.
And it's your boy JKD.
And this is the People's Podcast. We're here each and every Monday, live on your social platforms. You could find us on all major streaming platforms. And the main place we want you to watch and listen to us is the YouTube. So, guys, head over to the YouTube, hit subscribe. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. Pick your favorite and enjoy the show.
Yes, sir.
We back, the People's Podcast, and today we have a special guest in the building.
Yep.
This is a very close friend of ours, both of ours, that we've known for quite some time now. We had the first guest, Kevin Crown.
Yep.
That was more an entertainment guest.
Right.
The second guest was Jasmine Lee.
Yeah.
That was something more along the lines of wealth and talking about real estate and how to build wealth through that avenue.
Yeah.
And these are the topics that we speak about on a week-to-week basis. So that's wealth, health, entertainment, and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And our special guest today is here to discuss relationships with us.
You're right. Right.
Now, without further ado, we would like to welcome none other than
This guy.
Welcome, my brother. Welcome, our brother. We're not going to say that.
Yeah, we're not
don't worry.
explaining it. We're not explaining it.
It's just an inside joke with the man up. Welcome to our brother, Willard.
Yes, sir.
What up, people? What's going on?
Good, bro. How you doing?
I'm blessed, man, out here.
Yeah, man. Blessed
busy.
one. Blessed one. Big up,
Yeah,
man.
you see
Yes.
it.
Bless one on, what is it?
My
Instagram.
only
All
thing.
platforms pretty much that you're on.
He's just on Instagram.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
No,
And his
not-
only-
and
and his
Twitch. I'll
OnlyFans.
say Twitch.
Twitch, yeah.
And his
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans.
Yes, it only all right. Let's stop ragging on the man.
Wow.
He's our guest.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, Willard, big up yourself. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it, man.
First and foremost, I guess to dive into it and speak a little bit about why we brought him here. To me, not even to me, this guest is not a professional on paper
Right.
when it comes to relationships, but we've had many sit downs and talks about the subject matter. Just because we're boys and we both, or all three of us, have been through these aspects of life when it comes to relationships.
Yeah.
And we've had several conversations that, have been empowering to me. And I've learned a lot just simply speaking with you about especially the topic of relationships. So I definitely wanted to bring you in and get your perspective because even though you look like a young man, you're not a young man by any means. You know what I mean? You've been out here and you've experienced life. So
Right.
when it comes to the topic of relationships, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Just the fact that you don't know everything.
Mm.
Like you have to be willing to learn, and while you're teaching, just be open to learning.
Got you.
Figuring yourself out is important, and it's all of the waiting game. Like time is important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, just to speak a little bit on some of your history in terms of relationships. And when we're speaking relationships, we're talking partners.
Yeah.
What are some type of relationships you've been in your life? Like different degrees of relationships?
For the most part, when I was younger, I did a lot of just dating, but they were always exclusive and long term. I think I could say the most I've ever been single for when I was young was like 6 months. And I was in like serious relationships after that.
Yeah.
Right. And then just that 6 months took my time to figure myself out, and then met, which is now my ex, Joyce, and we were married.
Oh, wow.
For, I'm gonna say 11 years and together for around 12, 13.
Nice. Okay.
Learned a lot.
That is a huge chunk of your life. And you're what, if you don't mind sharing your age, you're?
I'm gonna be 39 next week.
Big man.
Is it
in
next
the
week, for real?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Actually,
Big man,
Thursday.
beginning of May.
Yeah.
Big man in the building.
Yeah, man.
I don't feel it though. I'm not even gonna lie, man.
Nah, you don't look it either. He looks like he could be going to walk you very
You look like a
Don't
toddler.
stress. That's the key. Don't stress,
Yeah.
man. Stress will take a lot from you.
Facts. And that's a huge chunk of your life. 10, 11 years, you said?
Yeah.
In a marriage, and you recently got divorced.
I'm actually still going through the process of divorce, but currently separated. And
Wow.
there's a lot more to that, but it's the conversation piece that really needs to be had
Yeah.
the right way. We did start it,
Yeah.
and then COVID happened, and it just wasn't something we really got back to.
Yeah.
But it's in the process, really.
Got you. And this is one of my closest friends, as I said. What you're seeing in the screen right now, J.K.D. Willard and my sister are literally my core, like my team. These are my lifelines that will help me get through. And for a large part of the time that I've known Willard, he was married with Joyce.
Yeah.
That, as well as you and Tasha, you guys were my ideal, like, you keep people around who you want to be like, so to speak. And to see that you guys had that aspect of things was a big reason, in part, why we became so close. But I remember how, like, I remember it to a T that day that you told me. Because I held you guys to such, and I still do, don't get me wrong, but I held you guys to such a high standard of, like, this is the ideal marriage. I can't wait to find my, just like that and live that life. And you told me that night, whoa, I literally stopped in awe and, like, I couldn't gather myself when I heard the news. And I know that was a big moment in your life. So kind of share that experience with us if as much as you can possibly share that you'd be comfortable with sharing.
Well, to be honest, like, Joyce was one of the first, after you told me about, like, the relationship, she was the first person I reached out to, and I was just like, look, I'm going to be going on this show to talk about relationships. Is there anything you don't want me to talk about? Just seeing, she said she feels that both of us really are ready to share our aspects of the story.
Yeah.
I actually asked her if she'd be interested in doing something like this, and she said if you came to her with it, then it's something she would think about. Yeah. But I know, just me and her, we had a great run. I'm not even gonna get mad. I can't say it. It's just we never really did a lot of the arguing, but we had our disagreements.
Gotcha.
And a lot of things play into fact. When you're in a relationship, it's never just you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's family, there's work environment, there's other people that see you, that want to see you win, but they don't have the background story of, like, what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. Right? And we were two people that, in my opinion, we were complete opposites that understood how to work together.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Just came from different backgrounds. I'd like to think I could say more. And Joyce could speak to this more, but she's more of, like, the survival aspect. And I came from what I see as, like, the love and survival. She's got a lot of love in her, and I got a lot of love in me and a lot of survival. So we both came together and just meshed really well. Had a really great relationship, and it just hit off from the jump. It was one of those things where, like, I can speak on it. Like, I tell you to this day, like, I got a lot of love for her. She gave me the two best things I could ever have in life, my daughters. So I got no hate for that girl. You know what I mean? And we pretty much just worked to push to where we got to. And all of a sudden we were just doing life. We had our oldest, which is Trin, before we got married, but it was always something we talked about doing and something I wanted to keep my word to her with. So we carried through with that. It wasn't just like, I'm not saying for people that aren't married that have kids that is a thing, but it is a big thing and a big step to take to get married. Right? So we did that, and we planned everything together. We had our wedding together, and we actually did a great job doing that, in my opinion. A lot of people came. We had about 100 people at our wedding that came to celebrate us, and it was big. And from there, it's like the wedding you build yourself up to, and then after that, you're trying to figure out everything else as you go along. And you have that understanding, because, like, when you're dating, it's one thing, and then you get married, it's one thing. There's always steps in relationships.
Marriage, living with the person, living and having to watch a child together. And a big thing that you said, sorry to cut, but a big thing is in-laws. So I know JKD's experience with that is a unique one. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
So why don't you share a little bit about that when it comes to the in-law?
Again, like what Lars said, is like there's aspects to a marriage. It's not just about you and your spouse anymore. There's there's work, there's kids, there's and a big thing is family. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't just marry your spouse, you marry the family. And for a while, because when I got married, I was living at my in-laws, and I always felt that I needed to be the man in the house. Like, I wanted my own space. I wanted, my kids to be brought up in, just our own home. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, unfortunately, we didn't have the funds to, so we just had to bin and greer with living with families. And yeah, there's ups and downs. There was a lot of downs, but I also remember the ups with living with in-laws. But yeah, it's definitely difficult living with the in-laws. So,
and as much as there were downs, you've always touched base or mentioned that doing that enabled a lot that's happening now.
Oh yeah. That's one thing like living in my own home now.
Yeah.
I'm able to revisit when I did live with my in-laws and actually take in what was good, what good came out of it, because there was a lot of good. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we tend to focus on the bad stuff, but there was a lot of good out of it. So, yeah. I mean, it's not ideal for especially for me. It wasn't ideal. I mean, if you could do it, great. Yeah. It's just me. It wasn't work. It didn't work. Didn't really work. But I'm glad it happened.
Yeah. So what? And I know you have a bit of a history with that department as well.
Yeah. So before Joyce and I moved in, so we around the time when things were kind of getting a little rough, we were living with her mom at the time. Yeah. But we'd always had like back and forth issues before. But we lived. When we first got together, I had my own place in my parents' house, right? So I had like my basement apartment, and just around that same time, she was working really close and living further. So I took it upon myself. I was like, you could stay with me, and I drop you to work in the morning. So it was like close. But one of the big things, like from previous, my parents had seen me kind of like have an ex that was close, but she just kind of took on staying there, and it became an issue for me. So one of the things they made clear was just like, you're not gonna just have someone living here. So they sat both of us down and talked about like what she wants for herself, and just a very independent person. Like, I'll tell you that straight. So she always had her head straight, like, I'm gonna get my own place and move out from here, and then we'll do that. She ended up doing exactly as she said. We looked for an apartment. It was close enough to my parents as well. So she did that, and she was living there for herself. I still kind of had my own space.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things to me that made like an impact to me was the way that my mom dealt with a particular situation. She was just like, she's seen Joyce doing her thing, and she's living by herself while I'm still there. Right. But we're dating, and I'm over there a lot. She's like, you're gonna let that girl like deal with that by herself? I'm like, yeah, I kind of like having my own space, which is me being selfish at the time. I'm not gonna
Facts,
lie.
But yeah,
right? But you understand what I'm like. I never really lived by myself, so to go and live with someone else was like a big thing for me. Yeah. But I had to put a lot of thought into it, and that message came from my mom. So it was like an over aspect of approval, because like she saw the hustle, and my mom has a lot of respect for it. So I slowly just moved in with Joyce, and we were doing our thing. We both sharing on bills and stuff, and then biggest things that I got to see from her was her holding me down when I was in school and I didn't work yet. I was finished school, graduate, and everything. I had my little LTOs, which are like long-term occasionals. I'm a child and youth worker, so I don't have a permanent full-time yet, but she held it down until I did. Always pushed me to do better because she saw it in me. I went and I was working. I was doing a job at the Bay for a bit, but we're getting back there, and she was just always on me like, you can do better and do better, and I pushed, and I was able to be successful in getting LTOs. And we're living together, we're sharing the bills, we have our own space, and it feels a lot better. And we're building because we have Trin at the same time, and there's a lot more to our story. It's crazy. If one day I'm sure both of us will get to sit down and bounce stuff, but like, we had a really great run. We had our ups and downs and our drawbacks, but we never argued. And I'll tell this day, I can say it wasn't arguments, it was a lot of things that we just disagreed on.
So let's jump into that argument.
Yeah.
Because I argue with like, I don't do all the time, but like, you know what I'm saying? I'm human. I argue with my wife, sometimes. But as of recently, I've been taking a step back and actually just listening instead of just talking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not actually arguing, just like actually listening to what she has to say, and just understanding what she's saying. Now, growing up, that's all I heard with my parents. Like, even with my stepdad, my mom and them arguing. So I would say like it was instilled in me to carry that. You know what I'm saying? Now, was that the case for you? Like, did you see your parents argue a lot, or was it like was that something that you saw that they weren't doing and you want to carry that?
A lot of the ways that I carry with myself right now is from what I saw with my parents. Like, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've seen them really even get upset at each other. They really do a great job of talking, and they're humans, but something that they're doing works to the point where they just mesh well, right? And my mom understands my dad understands my mom, and they coexist really well.
Right.
So I see that, and like that's something I always want to emulate. So disagreements, that still it was like foreign to me, because if they were doing those things, we weren't seeing it and we weren't hearing it. So when I'm experiencing those things, it's like, okay, I'm a very calm, deal with some person, and I like to snap things out and kick it off right away.
Right.
And through being in relationships, especially, I learned people need their time. But the hardest thing you can look at with time is to understand that, like, time doesn't mesh with everyone.
Right.
For me, a situation could take like 5 minutes for me to be over with, and for you, you need 5 days,
Right.
or 5 hours, or whatever.
Right.
And what can be lost in that time in between is huge on any level. There's people that have gotten into situations. For me, one of the biggest things that I learned is, like, when you're waiting for something to happen and to forgive someone and for them to forgive you, you could lose them in that same instance.
Right.
People really have said, yo, I'm not talking, this person left the house, got into a car accident, you're done.
Right.
You don't get to forgive yourself for stuff like
Yeah.
that. So for me, I'm very forgiving quick, because I'd rather lose the argument or the situation than the person.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's big.
Being in relationships,
A lot of people don't have that.
like
A lot of people don't have that mindset.
It's a hard
though.
mindset. Like, I get why, because not everyone gets to see how to process everything. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's how you raise. And this is what I was getting back to. Like, for Joyce and herself, I could speak on it, but like, she was just solid, and her and her mom were struggling. Her mom and her brother were together.
Right.
Her dad wasn't in her life from like young.
Right.
And they were very much on just, I think, making ends meet. And her mom did a wicked job with that. Right. But at the same time, when she's doing that, I personally feel there was pieces that were missing, because she couldn't give all of herself to them.
Right.
And you don't get to do that. It's not fair, because she has to work, and you kind of have to raise yourself.
So,
Whereas with me, my parents, like, they're working together, so it makes things easier. We get to spend more time with them, and that's where the love aspect comes from, where you see that, and then the survival. But somehow Joyce was still able to foster all of that stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? We lived by ourselves. When times got like hard financially, because finances play a big role in everything, but for us it did as well too. We looked at moving back with my parents so that we could do our own thing, because when you're paying rent, you're losing money.
Right.
I don't care. No one says it's hard, but something has to give at some point.
Yeah,
so you're losing money when you're doing that. So we took a step back, lived with my parents for a bit, and then wanted to save that money to step forward when her mom came with us to the idea of living together. Now, for Joyce and her mom, there was like, do we want to live together type of thing. I'm like, I wasn't raised with her mom, so I didn't understand the hardship between like a mother and a daughter. A lot of mothers and daughters have this rift, but it was there. And for Joyce, it was more like, do I really want to live with my mom and see all these things and relive that? And I'm like, it's a better opportunity. Here I am on the outside, where I'm just like, for me, I'm like, yeah, it's a yes right away. We have more space. But for her, it's like, do I really want to do this right now? When we did that, we experienced different issues. We're all living together in the same space, sharing coexisting. Well, finances played a role, difference of opinions, and now not everyone has the same view of how they want to have stuff done. You're living in a house, there's way more responsibilities. Things got to get done at a certain time. I'm the only male in the house, so I'm very handy as well. So like, I like to do things, right? And then there's you giving that aspect to yourself, but then there's these things that are missing, you know what I mean? So we're working, we experience like our drawbacks. To me, I feel that like we had a great relationship that we were building, and then a few things just came into the mix that weren't clear. And one of my biggest things is communication. And sometimes people feel that you understand something without communicating it to you, and just hope that you know. Right? And I'm not a person that works at that. I like to know, if you got an issue with me, tell me, don't keep it. And then things like that happen. Personal things were said when Joyce and her mom are talking to each other, or me and Joyce are talking, and her mom, and like, it's all talking around, but no one's talking to each other. And that caused a rift, in my opinion. So when that happened, we got to a level where I felt it was just better for us to have our own space. Joyce felt it was better for us to have our own space, because we wanted to keep that relationship. We had our own issues that we were dealing with, and we're working towards that while being in the relationship, while living in the household, while raising kids, while working. And it's just, you realize how much things are so fast paced that you don't get to sit down and just live life. Right. So kids are being affected and you don't know. And when people say that, like, kids don't know what's going on, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, kids will always pick up on your energy, so you got to take your time to watch your step when you're around your kids. And I started to feel like our kids were picking up on the negativity that was going on in the household, and we needed a change. So we did everything that we could do to get together, get out of that space, and our parents helped with that as well. So we got a condo, right? So now we have our own space, but we still didn't get to deal with all of our trials and issues that we've dealt with, and we brought it into a new space, hoping like for a fresh start, and it just wasn't clicking. We had our issues, we didn't get to solve them, and we had a time span. To me, I had a time span where I felt like we could have fixed things to be solid, but it wasn't there. The idea of therapy was brought up, and for me, I'm not against therapy, but my biggest thing with it is like, if you're looking to fix a relationship and you can't do it together, and you have to go to someone else to do it, if you ever get back to that situation or that struggle that you face in a relationship, you're going to need that person, right? Because like, at some element, you're going to need that person. And when you look back at our generations before us, they didn't have as much options as us. They had to figure out how to work together. And I still have that old school mentality. And it's like, there's a lot of, to me, hurt that came from being in a relationship and not getting things right. And a marriage is a whole different aspect. When people sit there and be like, yo, when you're in a relationship, you get married, nothing shouldn't change. A lot should change. And to be honest, a lot of males are selfish with that. I've had my own selfish ways as well, where I felt like I could still move the same way I was moving when I was just single, being in a relationship. Now you're married, you're a husband. And like, that title alone should mean something to you. You know what I mean? A lot of guys don't take that seriously. A lot of girls don't take being a wife seriously, but there's elements that you got to have different structures of how you approach people, how you approach situations, who's responsible for what. You can't sit there and say, well, I'm not going to do this, and understand it's an expectation. And then you sit there and be like, well, I'm the man of this house, but you're not doing the things that a man's supposed to do in the house. I'm the woman in here, but you're not doing it. And you got to be able to find that. We were lost for a while, and I felt that we try to get back to where we were, but our differences of opinion put us in a place to just kind of just push off from each other and do our own thing. And I felt like we were in a place where we was just like a TV couple, where you come in, honey, I'm home, no real love and affection, and then eat and you go to sleep and same shit every day, you know what I mean? But I'm like, our kids are starting to feel that, and I'm like, I don't like that she's seen it, we're just switching up. So we got to say when we're now moved, and it was like December of, I think 2019, like the last days, I was like, we both said like, we don't want to go into a whole new year, a whole new decade of dealing with the same things. What are we going to do? And it was almost like we both just had to understand like it was about time to kind of just split up. The separation was brought, but I felt like it was just something that was going to lead to a divorce anyways. And we've been doing our thing since. There's a lot of hurt and anger in the original part, because I felt like, I'm going to say she felt I didn't try as hard as I could to save that, but I also feel like we were doing everything we could to get to that space, and it didn't work. I know myself really well, and I have a great idea of like how long it takes me before I'm willing to like quit on something or give up. And whether I look at it any type of ways people can say it to me, it's a form of like, yo, it's, you give up. You know what I mean? And a lot of things played into that, because when we moved, the relationship with her mom was like non-existent. We didn't really have communication with her. We weren't talking with her. She wasn't seeing our kids. And that bothered me a lot. Right? Rest her soul, her mom is passed right now, but a lot came from that. And then the hard part about this is when we split off, I felt like her mom had like an issue, more of an issue with me, because Joyce is very much on, when you're right, you're right. Right? Just because you hold a specific title in someone's life doesn't mean you get all the benefits of that automatically. You got to work for that. Just being a grandparent, being a husband, being a wife, you don't just get those things. You work towards that to build it, and then you reap the benefits. And I think her mom took certain things kind of ways, because she felt that like it was a draw between, and then Joyce was choosing me, right? So I was like, when we split off, I felt that like their relationship would rekindle.
So it's crazy the timing of that, because that gave her literally a last minute opportunity to rekindle something with her mom. And bless Joyce, she's been one of the most amazing people I've met, and I'm happy that that's something, because as you said earlier, you know, you get into these situations with people, and if you don't resolve it, you never know. And that was literally the case. And had y'all not made that decision, who knows if Joyce would have got that opportunity with her mom for the last couple months that she lived. And, that went right into a pandemic. And none of us were expecting. So y'all are already dealing with that hurt going into pandemic, but she got the opportunity with her mom.
She said personally to me that like that was a new way of like relearning her mom. From how they were young to how she was now was like a whole new person, which she loved that she got that opportunity to be that way. Her mom ended up passing, so the 4th, which is the day before my birthday, she passed on that day. So it's always going to be like a somber type of situation for me to celebrate the next day. And my kids and her are sad like the day before. But it was just, this is life and how timing works with everything. And it was just, all of that was a lot. And then going through COVID to see a funeral happen where you have to have like 10 people was like the biggest hurt to me.
Yeah.
I don't feel anyone deserves to live a life that long to leave and not have your life celebrated with like a minimal amount of people. So there was a lot of hurt, and Joyce is someone that's just to me been solid her whole life, and I felt that she just needed that element to be herself without having to worry about being a wife to a husband, and that she's a great mom, and I will never take that from her. I think being a wife was a hard thing to do. And being a husband was a hard thing to do. We were just trying to find what we do. We got married when I was 27. You know what I mean? And we pushed through that. And you think that like that's like everyone's like, yo, that's the average age that people should think. But like you're still learning about yourself at that age.
I don't know.
I'm still learning about myself,
bro.
I
There's so much that I know now that I did not know then. And when you redo things, to say like you wouldn't do it different, like you would do it different because then things will work. But to me, where we are right now is crazy because our kids are very important to us, so we let them know everything that's going on with us. And in a raw way, sometimes people are like, yo, you guys are telling your kids too much. But I'm like, I know adults that have no clue why their parents broke up to this day, and it bothers them. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not going to do that to my kid. Right? So they both are very understanding and have made it a point to tell us that they think that we're both happier right now. You know what I mean? And that meant a lot because that means they were paying attention then. And they're very vocal. They're great kids. They're enough, but they're freaking
No, I gotta commend you guys because you see a lot of these situations where when it comes to divorce or even breaking up, and people have children and then separate, but not everybody still works together in a positive manner despite everything going on. And I have to say I commend you guys on that because you guys are really still doing it.
That was our biggest thing. I mean, like we wanted to make sure we got that right because we both have a very good idea of what we want for both of them. And we would do our great job of executing that right now because we need them to win. And that's why I'm like, she makes sure I'm good. I make sure she's good so they can say good. And maturity plays a big factor in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? And it wasn't always that way, and it's still touch and go. Like we have our times where we butt heads and everything, but for the most part, it's just like, yo, there's a lot of love to make sure they're good. Right?
So there was one thing you touched on a bit earlier that hits home for me, and that was, being in a relationship where one person is built a certain way or raised a certain way, and the other one was raised a completely different way. And I had that experience myself where it was like I was raised in like the quote unquote ideal family structure home where there was a lot of love. I'm not saying it was a bed of roses, you know what I mean, but like we obviously had our issues as a family, but we stuck together. We made it work. We all worked as a family unit, and we're successful to today. There's a lot of families I've seen in the world or just in the network that, you could tell when people act a certain way, they were probably raised a certain way. And a big thing of what you said was you felt like you were raised with that, with love, with family, whereas Joyce had something different in terms of brought up see. And it was the same thing with me. I was raised with that family structure with love, and who I was with at the time, it was like literally they had to be an adult from the time they were young. And then now that they're older, it's like now is party time because I had to be an adult when I was young. But I'm ready now to be like the father, like a father to kids, a husband. So that clash just didn't work. So what expand a little bit more on that? Two people being raised differently.
So with that, like, even though, like I said, like even though Joyce was raised with that, her mom had a lot of love for them. You know what I mean? And with that, it was being able to show it was a difference. And one of the things you'll know about a lot of like older generations is like they have that love, but it's not as easy to show. And that's all across the board. Tough love. It's there, but it's like I'm providing for you, so is there like but you see it in a different way. But to hold on to whatever you can with it is huge, and that's what amazed me about Joyce. Like, she just had that in like abundance and always wanted to give it, but she was grown from the time she was 15, taking care of real grown people. So you know what I mean. And I didn't have to do those things. I wasn't forced out of home, and I didn't have to make those decisions that adults do until I was an adult. So I got to have fun. I got to me enjoy every element of it, and the play happened when it needed to. The preteen happened when it needed to. Well, for her, she was an adult. So she always kind of had that vibe. But a lot of people that to me are raised that way. They're on that hustle mentality. They can't stop. Like, everything for them needs to be like 10 steps ahead, or they can't relax now. And for me, I'm just like, yo, take your time, relax. And it's like, you can't explain that to someone that's had life dealt with them a different way. And here I am. And just because, like, to me, this is why I have to respect it, because I was raised in that quote unquote environment that's supposed to be like the ideal one. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. I mean, right or wrong from what she's raised, because at the end of the day, she's still alive and she's still kicking. From every struggle that she's faced, she's still matching me on a level where we're doing things. So it's like something about that survival mentality puts those people in a place where they're like, I'm always going to be good. No matter if I'm there, no matter if you're there, I don't need you, I don't want you or this and that, but I'm always going to be good. And it's like you're trying to show people that you're always there for them, and they're used to everyone else giving up on them. It's a real hard thing. When you're just like, yo, I'm here for you. Like, figure this out. A lot of like our early parts of our relationship was me trying to show her, like, yo, I'm not gonna give up on you. Like, I'm not one of those people that gives up on things easy. And a relationship is something you work on every level.
So you think part of that is them being attracted to the what's the word, like a negative or like the pushback. A resistance type thing. Instead of like, come, like, I got you. I'm not gonna leave you. Like,
that's not the norm for them.
You
know what I mean? Like, or for anyone that's facing that's not the norm. And it's like you learn things the hard way. Some people have to learn hard. I always have this analogy where it's like some people in life have to put their finger in the socket to get shocked. Whereas someone like me will watch that and be like, yo, that almost killed you. I don't need to do that. Right? But some people, there's so much comfort in that shock that it's just, I'm used to this. I know what that feels like. I'm gonna deal with that. Right. And when you mesh those two people together, it's like a in between. You're just trying to figure out, somebody is giving and taking back and forth. And at times I felt that it was me more to be the reach back, like, hey, let's fix this quick, let's do this quick. And I couldn't even blame her, because it was just, I could see how bad she wanted to fix things, but sometimes it was just a drawback of like, how do I do this? And then there was times where she's fixing things and I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do to receive what she's giving, because I don't see it the way that I want it. There's that whole love language thing, and like sometimes you don't meet people on that level where they understand what you need, right? And some people, it's like you want to give them what they want, but you think you're giving it to them a certain way and you're not. And all of that. So when you're dealing with that, there's a lot of fight, and you feel like you're parenting someone. And I don't ever want to feel like that. And then people tell you, like, yo, you'll hear stuff like, you're not my father. And then I'm just like, oh, I understand stuff. I'm not trying to be this way, but like there's rules and responsibilities and things. And she's a very responsible person. But when it came to a relationship, I'm just like, this piece is missing. And I'm not the type to not. I'm a male, and I will tell you, I talk. I love to communicate. That's not going to be something you have an issue with me. So if I tell you something's on my mind, this is the opportunity to act on it before it gets. And I felt like those things weren't happening.
And I know you were in a previous relationship before that was a long-term one, but it was kind of in a toxic situation.
That was to be toxic.
And that one was a lot more along the lines of what I'm talking about. Like this person was raised a completely different way. And it wasn't a situation where you might have even saw that future with kids with this person, or maybe you did. That was something that, again, I looked at like, you are acting a certain type of way. If I can't even trust you to like hold your own, I'm supposed to trust you with my kids? That can't happen. And then you have to think like you said, you're giving this, you are giving what you think is everything to this person. And that's still not enough. So expand a little bit more on that. And you said something, love languages. Talk a little bit about that, and if the people don't know.
Well, that relationship was one to me that like it didn't start off toxic, but I feel like I avoided all the signs early that led to me being like all till now, I'll tell you, I don't even remember how long we were together, not because I blocked out so much stuff. And it was one of those situations where it started off really well, and I felt like I walked into it without really thinking about it. Like almost like I just decided it because of how emotional the person was when we had a conversation, and I had done something wrong, and it was during the time when I was dating her and dating someone else, and I felt bad for it, and it was like, okay, I need to make a decision now. All right, you're my girlfriend. Like, let's figure this out. And we started dating, and things were good, but there were signs here and there, and like some possessiveness, and I'm not a possessive person. Like, to me, live your life and do what you want, and I'll see how you move with me. But that person, I'd never had anyone be possessive of me, and it was crazy to see, like, I'm talking showing up at my school when you're supposed to be in school. You know what I mean? I'm in college right now. You're in your last year of high school. Yo, your girl's here. I'm like, nah, she's not. She's in school. Like, nah, she's here, bro. And I'm looking. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, why are you here? But that relationship just fostered out of, like, to me, I was showing her something that she didn't see, and the thought of losing it became so much like I need to be with this person every time. And that was a crazy thing, because once you're there, you're allowing those things to happen, and it's an enable type of, I'm like, no, she's with me there. Yo, my girl will come. Like, you try to do your things without, and then all of a sudden you feel bad for not, like, someone makes you feel bad for a while, then you start to feel bad, so they just come anyways. So, and that relationship was, to me, hard because I never got to meet parents in that relationship. I met siblings, but there was so much to this day that I don't understand about what was missing from the parents aspect. And it was hard for me because, like, people are meeting my parents. If you're involved in my life on a level, you're going to get to meet my parents because they want to know what's going on with me and who I'm with. So to me, if you're serious, then you get to meet them on a different level. But I'm not going to hide from nobody and hide away. But you're meeting my parents, you're going to stay over my house and do this. And I have not met, like, I talked to this girl from 4 or 5 years. I hadn't met parents. I'm just hearing stories, and I'm like, you feel like you're believing nonsense. And it's like, how can you be so deep in something and not have what you need but still have it work? And it's a lot. You know, like, we've talked about stuff like that. You feel like you're not valuable, or you're not important enough to meet the important people in someone's life.
I agree with that, but I think there's a lot of other factors that
I'm sure
that happen with that, and they're probably not they're probably afraid to even, like, take that to their parents, because they know what their parents would say.
Yeah, right. There's that too.
But again, like, if you're really invested into that person, I mean, it should become a conversation of, like, yo, like, this is who I'm with. Take it or leave it, like, you know, take it or leave it to the parents. But I guess, again, you don't know somebody's situation. Maybe she felt like if she brought that to her parents, that might have just canceled everything.
Shut it down, which is understandable.
And you know, that is understandable. But again, if this is somebody you see the rest of your life with, you figure that out sooner than later.
Yeah.
And I must say, like,
absolutely,
this touches back on a previous episode that we did, and it reinforces how important it is to have people to talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was drowning when I was in that situation. And then you told me in a more in-depth version of what you just said about that relationship. And it literally made me feel like, you know, I'm not the only one that's been through this.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I'm like, ain't nobody gonna understand this. I'm in a unique situation and I feel screwed.
Yeah.
And you came and told me your situation, and to a large extent it was worse. But the similarities were uncanny, and it was ridiculous. And I'm like, if you've been through this, got out of that, and still ended up as a successful person with a wife and kids, and, like, you know, you made it out of that and you're okay, it gave me a sense of comfort. And that was big. You know, so again, it's important to have conversations with people, because you never know what others have been through. Yeah. That friend that you think is so close and dear to you has probably been through your darkest moments already. Yeah. So it's good to just talk to people, and especially close loved ones.
The key to what you just said, though, is huge, because one of the things I find is females naturally just talk to each other. Males, we don't share those things. Yeah, it's like, if I've been through something that hurt me, that may mess me up to deal with any other female, like, I wouldn't even feel comfortable talking to my brothers about it, because I'm like, they're just going to be like, what the hell? Yeah. But I feel our group is a little bit different. To be honest. We talk about a lot of things, and I think we need to push that narrative, like, yo, males, you guys need to talk. Like, just whatever circle or group you got, just take the time, like, sit down and say, yo, this girl's stressing me out over here. This is the shit I got to deal with. Like, how did you deal with this? Any of you guys deal with this situation? Like, what can we do? Like, do I need to get to a state? Like, do I need therapy? Like, have you done therapy? A lot of there's people doing therapy out there, but it's not like therapy's not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's something to consider if things are getting to a level. And I can say for my situation, like my previous situation, if that was something I looked into, there may have been a step that could have been looked at a different way, because sometimes you can't get through to someone when it's directly coming from you. As hard as it is to like be in a relationship where you're married to someone and that should be the one person you should say everything to, sometimes you can't. And I'll hold that L to say that was a card that I dropped with that. But at the same time, where we are now is where we are, and you got to live where you live. There's no regrets to be done with stuff. You just look at life and you move forward. I've always been about that. That particular relationship that to me that I felt was toxic taught me to just live and let live. Because what I felt was just stifled from being there. When I got out of that, I was just like, yo, I just want to be happy. Like that was literally the only thought I cared about. And that's what I'm carrying to my grave. Like I'm leaving this place happy. Right. I don't need to be stupid, wealthy, rich, famous. Like, I want to be happy. Right. So when you see me and you talk to me, that energy that you guys catch from me, that's what it is. Like that relationship made me feel like I was going to lose everything. And then when I got everything else out of like with being with Joyce, I'm like, I have kids. I did the marriage. I did the structure, did the family. And I got that out. Not everything is meant to last, but some things are meant to just show you that like you're worth something. And it's like, you know what I mean? Not every relationship is going to last. Not every marriage is going to last. Not every friendship is going to last. Not every job is going to last. But something else is out there for you. You just can't stop. I don't stop. I'm a friggin' shark. I keep moving. I can't stop swimming.
That's good. And before we get to the midway break, you know, it's big what you're saying. And again, kudos. You've become still till this day an idol in that regard. And I really appreciate all them conversations that we had to a very high level. You know what I mean? And it's helped me profoundly because I'm still today, I feel like I need therapy, but I've just never picked up the phone to do that. Yeah. Or gotten out of my zone to go and do that. But you have been like realistically like free therapy. that has been
I love talking
paramount.
To people, so.
And yeah, that's just something you like to do.
Right.
So it's interesting because I saw that in one of my greatest friends to say that you have like a serious skill that not everybody has. And that's something you should own and move forward with. So I suggested to you motivational speaking and like talk the way you talk to me. If you did that in front of a crowd with authority, that's a success factor that you could, even though you don't want to be wealthy, that's something that could really.
No, I want to be wealthy. I just don't care.
Okay.
Right. No, I got it.
I hear you, but that's an
I will be wealthy.
And everybody, I think, should zone in on the talent that God gave them. And I strongly feel you've always told me I just love talking to people.
Yeah.
Well, if it's one thing I'm good at, it's talking to people. Yeah. And that's something that I feel like you should own.
I like talking to older people the most.
Yeah.
Because they lived it, bro. Right. And they they don't even there's no filters with them. They'll tell you that as raw as it is. I love that.
The older ones will teach you.
Yeah.
Whereas you might be in a teaching state to the younger.
Always, man. Like
but everybody could learn from each other, you know? Yeah, man. So the People's Podcast, we're about halfway through the show. Just want to remind everybody to make sure and hit that follow button, please. Follow us, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This link right here. Are we on the full screen? This link right here. Jake, do you point? Well, Lord, you want to point at it too? Yeah, man. Something new we're going to try. This is a Amazon gift card for the first person that actually sat down, listened, watched, and is paying attention right now. The first person to grab that gift card, you just take that, plug it into Amazon. You get a little treat on behalf of the People's Podcast. Right? Oh. So yeah, just a little tidbit. Just that you guys make sure every Monday, as soon as you see the notification, go watch the episode. You could win a prize if you pay attention.
Maybe I should go on there and watch it on Monday.
It's bird. I should find out who takes the pod, who takes the who
takes the link.
I'll call Jeff and see if I can block out. If you see Jerron Kerr try to use any
fixed.
Yeah, but trust me, people. A quick couple call outs before we continue the program about relationships. I want to thank Willard once again. A few call outs. This one's on behalf of JKD. But realistically, both of us could benefit from this.
All right.
So what do you want to ask the people? You wanted a link on something.
Oh, yes. Anybody out there that has a friend or a family member that works in the hospitality area, hotels,
tourism.
that I'm talking about. Hotels.
Or in Canada.
Or in Canada. Please send us a DM, hit us up, comment, tell us, or just shoot us a message. We'll love to get that information. Also, if you know anybody who works on different airlines, so
Absolutely.
that's Air Canada, WestJet. Okay, so you have out there.
You know somebody?
Oh,
Easy. Yes, Skippy.
Yes, we're just
we
looking for
have to take back the yellow cards. You're good. No yellow cards. No yellow cards. Line up the contact.
We greatly appreciate it. So hit us up.
And this one is extremely important too. Gather around, guys. Listen up. We need some more help, if possible, on the People's Podcast. I have extremely big dreams for this podcast, and I understand the transformative power that it has. A lot of you guys have not missed an episode.
Yep.
And I'm talking some of y'all haven't missed one since pre-line.
Right.
Which was 150 episodes before this one that we started, and we're on episode 9, I think.
Yeah.
9, yeah. So we need help because I'm trying to take this to a extremely high place within the entertainment industry.
Right.
We have an amazing team right now. Big up Deli, the video guy who's been rocking with us for a very long time, since like episode 30 or something like that.
Right.
In pre-line.
Right.
Skippy, who recently joined the team but has been a fan since day one.
Right.
Farm P.
Yep.
He real busy with Mass right now.
Yeah.
He's
Killing it.
currently, they just presented their costumes in Carnival Nations.
Yeah, they did.
So I have yet to sign papers with them, so I'm not gonna sit here and tell y'all, go
Costume
Carnival.
look nice though. Man.
What's the paper sign though? What is it?
Costume looks nice though.
The costumes.
Yeah,
I saw them in
Costumes?
person. I saw them in person.
Yeah. Oh, the
Video.
costumes.
Yeah, the costumes.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why your thing was zoomed in when you were saying.
Wow, this guy.
No, I'm playing. But yeah, more specifically, we could use what's it called? Editors.
Yep.
So anybody who has any sort of video editing capabilities, we would give training as well and accept training because we're not, the best editors in the world, but I think we've played in the water a little long enough to know. Editors, motion graphic editors, and social media person. So I have an idea for who for social media.
Okay.
I've yet to reach out to them. Okay. But soon, very soon, this is going to turn into a paid opportunity. Nothing crazy yet. I don't have that kind of money yet. But this will be something that you will be compensated for. It will take a couple months just to, gear the wheels, a little bit of internship and without pay and just figuring out getting the machine running. You know what I mean? Right. But we are looking for the help. If anybody would like to sponsor or intern with us, it's also a networking ability.
Great networking.
JKD and I are clearly two of the top DJs within the city that are working hard on an international level right now. Right. If you want to know an in with us, it's probably a good idea to come and chill with us and intern for the People's Podcast.
Absolutely.
I think you could devote a little 2 or 3 hours on your Thursday night instead of jerking.
This guy.
We back on the PPL.
It's about to go left. This guy.
But no, we could definitely use the help. I'm thinking, maybe after Tsunami, this might be a paid gig. That's coming soon, y'all. The information for that. Soca Sleepover. Y'all see the flyer on social media. If tickets aren't sold out, the $20 tickets, the early birds, go get them now. So, thank you guys so much for continuing to listen, and we're back with the episode. Now, Willard, this one literally made my skin bubble, my skin boil. It got me hot. It got me angry. I don't know if you've seen this on social media as yet, but we're going to play this clip for you, and I want to get your thoughts on what this person here is saying.
But those types of guys don't even approach me. They don't even. Let's just be real.
Could you be with a guy that makes $100,000 a year?
No. For what? That's $274 a day.
You right, yeah.
I know. Okay, so dinner for 2, and if we add alcohol, it's gonna be a $300 check. So you want me to spend that whole man's day? Like, no. Men that don't carry a gun, not going to sleep. Because you already laughing with other men, I have to watch. Like, no, I have to watch. The ops, I don't know. Somebody could get us. Because I'm already seeing you're not a protector. You're not.
Just because he ain't got a gun?
he don't have a gun and we outside with mad jewelry on. Come on, I'm gonna get freaked out. As a man, you're supposed to be a protector, a leader, a provider. Like, if you can't protect, preach, provide, no. I don't respect you as a man. No. Certain people posting real time and we're just outside, like, that's gonna make me feel uncomfortable. Like, and nothing's bad ever happened to me. It's just, I just look for a man that is going to be aware of his surroundings and be able to provide and protect so that I can be in a more feminine place and relax. Like, if I can't relax, no, it's dead. Cause you never know. I'm 4'11". Like, real shit, even if it's not jewelry, I am 4'11". Like, women are really bad stuff is really happening outside. And I know we all think like, oh, everybody got money. People do not have money.
She probably has stinky crotches.
That
Don't like her,
hurts
I
a
don't
little
like her.
bit too.
I don't like
I really don't like her. She a little cute, but no, I don't like you. You're not a nice person.
Out. So 100K is like $2 these days. Is what's going on.
100K is not enough for this particular. I don't even want to call her a woman. This girl, because the way she's going in is
that's
like a
a-
little gal, a little catty.
That's a weak
All right.
mentality.
So it's a weak mentality one. But expound on it. What do you think about what you just heard?
I don't like that. I'll be honest with you. I think there's certain levels of, well, I'm going to speak on her because not every female is going to be like this, but there is a certain ideal right now that money is what you need to feel safe, right? And she kind of obviously touched on that in a sense where, like, if you're going to say 100K is nothing, like, the average man doesn't make anything close to that.
And on top of that, what are you making, motherfucker?
She's making him hurt in the head. bro.
Exactly, literally.
That's a headache.
I mean, like, to go back to what she was saying, even with the man not having a gun, like, she is definitely a product of her environment.
Yeah,
She definitely dated guys who are probably selling drugs. You know,
sounds like it.
uh,
Oh, they're lacking. What?
you know what I'm saying? Like, what and she goes on to say, well, like, what if there was an op, that will catch you slipping? What kind of guy you dating? You dating a guy who's a gangster? Like, he has to watch his back all the time? Again, a product of her environment. Maybe she likes, that's the kind of guy she likes.
Yo,
For
and
whatever reasons, I don't know.
if that's the kind of guy that she likes, and she's looking for someone that's obviously making over 100K, what does she do for a living? I don't know. She didn't really say that, but
to me, what triggered me too was with 100K, you have calculated what this person makes
quick
per
fast.
day.
She does
Right.
math quick.
Easily.
Seen that.
All right, she probably typed that in her little ghetto phone, her
Right.
burner phone,
Right.
Free.
and typed blah, 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 $260 something a day. And she literally said, I don't want to spend off that man's day. So what she's telling me is that she doesn't do anything.
Right.
And she's relying on a man to do everything for her. I'm not going to say that's too much of an issue because, as you said earlier, you can't be judgmental with somebody, for instance, on that. Because certain men out there,
That's how they live.
They're capable of that, and they do that.
You just said it, capable.
Some men are Prince Charming out there,
Right.
but realistically, what's the percentage of men like that out there? And then on top of that, like you're coming into the situation as a freeloader.
Right.
What are you putting on the table? Like, she didn't say anything about that.
Yeah.
It was just straight up, what is this guy doing that I could take?
Right.
That's what I got from. And again, this is a 2-minute clip that I played for y'all.
Yeah.
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 So I didn't hear the broader conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm still annoyed by what I heard. I have the right to be,
Yeah.
and I don't agree with it. I feel like relationships should be a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Now, when you look at that situation, like, I'm gonna say, I have to say, just to be fair, that is an extreme. But when you look at, like, day and age, like the ideals that certain females have in this day and age, don't match what they want from a guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, you want to be with a guy that you see as a protector that's there for you. She clearly has a false sense of protection. If a gun was the first thing
Right,
that came into
right.
that, already that's off.
Right.
But some females look at finances as a level of safety. And the reason
Right.
why you got to understand it is, like, females, it costs a lot to be a female.
Yeah.
Like, on a real level. But you shouldn't want to get into something looking at someone as a financial opportunity for you to not have to spend your money. Because you can't sit there and say, a lot of females, I have to give them hands out. I know a lot of females that were independent before they had to be, like, from young. Right. So they've always had that sense of, like, get your money right. And I don't know a female that's not really taking care of herself financially. But when you look towards a man that's coming into your life as a reason for you to now ease off of that, that's when it becomes an issue, because it's like, okay, you're already capable of paying for your own car, paying for your own place, your own food and this and that. So now when you're looking for a man, you want him to do what? So you can stop doing that. Now you want to save your money. So now I can spend mine. That's what it translates to me. Right. It's like, oh, no, that's not what it's about. Okay, so what is it really? Like, it costs to be a woman. You got to get your hair done, this. And like, not every man needs you to do that.
Right. Exactly.
Not every man needs you to have those friggin', what is it, Brazilian weed? I don't even know how much those things cost. I'm sorry. And not every girl's into those. Right. But the upkeep of being a female, like just on a date alone, to go on a date alone, a female could spend over like $200-$300 on one date.
Right.
And that guy could be weak or whatever, not even want to pay for a date, and they feel they've lost. So for them, the financial compensation kind of is like an ease to them. So if you're in a relationship and you don't have to pay for this and this and this, it's, oh, he's taking care of me. Right. But are you not able to do those things for yourself? If you can't do that for yourself, you should not want that from someone on any level. And any male, if you can't sit there, it's like, yo, it's hard to sit there and want someone to just cook for you and you can't cook for yourself. At some point, it's going to be a problem. Right. Anything that you want from someone in a relationship,
I don't like her, man.
worth assumption.
She's not a nice person.
But no, like, I think it's hard because what females are being raised, and this is still one of those, we still live in a time where the media controls everything. There's a reason why those images are out there, to keep people stuck. Right. When you have these big rappers that can switch girlfriends in like 10 seconds if something is not right, but they got the money to take care of that, they don't have to worry about money. So when I see guys like that talking about like, yo, I pay for all the things that my girl got, I'm like, you can do that. Right. That's not an issue for you. You shouldn't be in this conversation because to be in this day and age where you can't afford shit by yourself, you can't get a house by yourself these days, no matter how much money you're making. Absolutely. You can't do that by yourself. A relationship is work. So all of a sudden, I'm going to be spending my money to make sure you're good, and I can't save none so we can do this. Right. And I'm supposed to sit there and feel okay with that just because I can take care of you financially.
And to be honest, like we live in a day and age where a lot of young women, even young men, they're so short-sighted. They only see what's in front of them instead of long-term.
Money is it. And quick money.
It's not the sexy thing to look long-term. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not the attractive thing. And if we really boil it down to, an important thing to remember, and this goes for both women and men, because there's men out there with sugar mamas.
Yeah.
If anybody has the power to feed you, they have the power to starve you.
I like that.
And keep that in mind. If you were relying on somebody like that, they have the power to starve you.
Absolutely.
If they kick you out on the street, what now?
Right.
You want to play, like as I said earlier, it's nothing wrong with expecting that from a man, but understand the repercussions that come with that.
Right.
It's nothing, same thing with men and women.
Right.
A lot of people use money as control. And like when there's all that stuff where like what is it, Kevin Samuels guy, he's always talking about like a high caliber man and what you want from him, and he's always like kind of putting women down. I don't approve of it, but some of his things that he talks about is true. It's like, you want this and you don't have that to offer, but you want that from a man. Right. What are you going to do to keep a man like that? Right. A man like that is going to request certain things of you that you just can't say no to.
Right.
Better be giving that Gok 9,000 at least. At the very, imagine she not doing that shit. Nah, son.
Like money is a level where people use to control you, and even if you don't see that, but like you can't say no. You'll feel like you can't say no once someone is financially taking care of you, sir. Because as soon as you say no and their vibe changes, it's a drawback.
Right.
You know what I mean? So be able to take care of yourself financially. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a man that takes care of females. Like, I like being able to take care of females anyway, but finance is not my first choice.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I'm like, why can't I be there for you emotionally and mentally to help you understand like how to take care of yourself better, so you're not looking for a man that's money and you can see it. Some females are just like, I already did that. This guy here wasn't emotional. He was emotionally unavailable. So at least like I got some money out of the deal. And it's like, that's what you think is okay.
Yeah, like going back to what you said, like with some women don't like about, like they don't care about the money aspect.
Yeah.
And he touched on it earlier where he said love languages, like, you know, finding what your wife is or your spouse is into.
Like
what? So, I don't know if we got into that because
no, we didn't.
Some people are hearing love languages and might not know. So, Jakey, what do you?
So, like, okay, I don't know.
There's 5.
They say there's 5 of them. I think there's more, but they say there's 5 of them. I don't know them.
I can touch on
verbatim.
Okay. Yeah.
There's words of affirmation.
Yes.
There's acts of service. So words of affirmation is like things of like, yo, I really appreciate what you're doing. I see how hard you're working, and like I just want to be able to support you, whatever you need. I got you. Words of affirmation. Acts of service is like, yo, my girl had a hard day today. We're living together. Let me make sure like the dishes and the laundry and stuff is done, so she comes and she doesn't have to sit there. And maybe cook her some dinner, or like buy her a little jewelry, or like some flowers and stuff.
Right.
That's an acts of service. There's quality time, which is again huge with women, bro.
Right.
Don't let no woman tell you that is huge. Women love that. They just like sitting still doing nothing. I don't know what it is. Most guys are not like that, and I understand. But the amount of females that can sit there to just sit and hold them for hours is crazy.
And it literally could
They
be them
love that.
sleeping.
That's tough.
Yeah. And there's guys that are like that too.
You want me to sit here and hold you sleep? Go sleep and let me do it.
But that's what causes the issues, right? It's most guys would be like, yo, like, so I'm staying home with you and we're doing nothing. Like, so we can't go out, but you okay being at home doing nothing? Like, yeah, like I just want to sit here and listen to you breathe. Oh, okay.
I've heard that one before.
Okay. So that there's quality time, which is huge. So accessories quality time. There's, I think it's a physical touch or something like that.
Yeah.
So being able to be affectionate and like touchy feely and holding hands and all of those things that involve just being able to, for it's not even so much it's not for other people, but just to be able to say that like I'm validated.
Yeah.
Like obvious on an obvious level. Like my man cares about me, or my woman cares about me enough to like not want to hold my hand in a public space. One word I'm lost right now. I'll probably come back to it. Do you catch it? Receiving gifts. Just like some people like that's for them. Like they love to get like scheduled, like, yo, this guy sending flowers to my work.
Yeah. Or
like, here, honey, I got you this 2016 BMW. Thanks, bro. I wanted the 2017, but this will do. Like, you know what I mean? Like things of that nature. Yo, there's people out there like that, bro. So all those things, and the reality is like if you're not the type of person that's a quality time person, and your girl is, it's gonna affect you on some level because you don't see the value in just being there to sit and slow the day down because everything's so fast paced and you're used to moving. But if she doesn't meet you on a level where she understands that, like, yo, you're an affectionate male, and she just sees, like, oh, males aren't supposed to be affectionate, and she doesn't meet you on that level, you guys are clashing. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, whether it's a real thing to most people or not, it's important to learn about your person. A lot of people go into things thinking they can stay exactly the same. And one of the biggest things that I think, I have to put this out there because I do put a lot of things on why I feel relationships are interesting is because as a male, and males will tell us, we don't need a lot.
Right.
The world there's not a lot that we need from the world. Give me a couch, even a chair, and a TV, and I'm good. I probably have a half of orange juice in my fridge, and I can live off of that for a year.
Ramen noodles.
This guy had to say,
a little ramen noodles in the gawk.
But
we're very simple people. We're very simple
But the
creatures.
reason why we change those things are to like appeal to females.
Right.
Like you'll be a guy like that, and you want to meet a female, and she'll be interested in you, but then finally get to see what your living space like, because that's important to a female, right? And then she's like, okay, well, I'm here with you. Let me do a little bit of groceries here. Let me get you actual curtains instead of this sheet for a blind.
Right.
Let's stop this kind of. Let's get a friggin' bed instead of this blow up mattress. And you're like, you realize like your world starts to shift when you and you understand the value of a female. A lot of females were raised to be nurturers. Yeah. Men were raised to be like takers in a sense, and it's kind of messed up because a lot of guys still have that mentality like, yo, you're going to give me this, and it's a requirement.
Right.
And for females, they're doing a lot of the hard work up front. That's why there's that thing that's like, don't show guys that wifey vibe unless he's giving you that hubby vibe.
Right.
But it's like, that's how you kind of sell yourself to someone. Like, I need to know that you can cook. So if you're not cooking for me and I'm supposed to guess that you can cook, that might take you off of my table. Right. So to me, I'm like, yo, put your all in on people. If they don't get it, remove it. You got to just know when to stop. Right. That's it. Right. A lot of people don't know, but like men do better because there's a lot of trash guys out here with great girls, and it's fucking it up.
Well, we talked about it a bit last week when we said like men had to take more of accountability.
You have to, bro.
So and that's one thing, you know. I encourage all men you know, this year going forward, like, yo, like we need to step up, take some accountability to your actions. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't know the specific science behind the love languages, but speaking on what I've been through, I found out about the love languages after the fact.
Yeah.
And when I really sat back and looked at it, I was like, I was giving this person like 3 of the love languages in totality that I was brought up to give.
Right.
Yeah.
But because they weren't getting the other 2, which was extremely important to them, the other 3 didn't mean as much.
Hold as much weight.
It didn't hold as much weight.
Right.
But you have to focus on what the other person wants.
Yeah.
Right.
I was speaking to Jakey on a ride home one night. I was drunk as hell, but we were just talking and something about soulmates came up. And Jakey was like, I don't really believe in that. You have to work for it.
Yeah.
But I said, my idea of a soulmate is not necessarily somebody that like you meet and this is Prince Charming or Princess Charming or whatever the case is. And this is, you go off into the sunset with this person.
Yeah.
To me, a soulmate is you like these love languages, you have these flaws, but this person now comes into your life and is able to diffuse your bombs.
Right.
That person's able to love you exactly how you want to be loved
Right.
naturally
Right.
because that's just how they are. And to me, that's a soulmate. Y'all still gonna have your fights,
Right.
but you're gonna have like those things should be natural to the other person.
Right.
And if they're not and you still love them, as JKD said, you got to work for it.
Yeah, that too, and I feel like both parties are gonna come with flaws, pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, if you really want a relationship to work, and you acknowledge that your spouse has the cons, you're gonna put yourself in a position to help make those cons into pros.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's what love does. Love does crazy stuff. We talked about it last week.
Yo,
Will slap the hell out of Chris Rock. Like
There's a lot
love
there.
make you do crazy stuff.
it's the most.
Was it the right thing to
irrational
do? No, but that's what love does sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
So will really take you out of who you are.
Yeah. And speaking on, I think a lot of people have a false idea of love in this day and age. Like, love, it comes in all forms. It comes in hurt. It comes in joy. It comes in, but you're supposed to just really take it. I think a lot of people are starting to lose that like idea that like love is real. Love is a real thing.
Right.
It's the most rational, irrational thing you will ever do in life. Period.
that.
Like you can't. There's no explaining it.
But you said it earlier, it's the media.
Yeah.
And like we are literally trained from children with all these Disney movies, now with goddamn YouTube kids.
Yeah.
We are programmed to think that this fairy tale cartoon is the end goal.
Yep.
And you get to become an adult and realize very fast it's not that at all.
Yeah.
it is the media, but I also feel like it's
Structure.
it's at home too, bro. I mean, everything happens at home. You learn things at home.
Yeah.
You think before school, like Lauren learned how to count at home. She learned her ABCs at home. So everything
Structures,
happens at home. If home is not structured properly, they're gonna look
Lessons will be
elsewhere.
missed.
Number one thing they look, media.
I think that's one of the biggest things you touched on, like what you learn at home is first. And one of the biggest things I think me and Joyce do with our girls is like I said, we're real with them. And our expectations on them is like they're gonna go out into this world, they're not gonna miss all the hurt.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can think you can't miss hurt, but their bounce back game from whatever hurts them is what we're working on.
Right.
Because I can't sit there and be a male and be like, oh, my daughters are never going to be hurt by no guy because I'll kill everyone. I'm like, that's stupid.
You're right.
I will,
Right.
but that's stupid.
Yeah, you get the shotgun ready, trust me.
But at the end of the day, they need to be able to say, okay, that hurt. You thought you got me. I'm going to move on to something else.
Right.
It's when you get stuck in the hurt that's where the lesson is. It's like you don't have to go through the pain. You can be able to say, yo, I saw what happened.
Right.
Clearly that wasn't for me. I'm not going to take that again. And you move on.
Right.
You can't have, especially little girls, you can't raise them to be the same. You can't be that type of guy that's like, my daughters are going to be different.
Right.
And you're sitting there slewing down the place and
right.
this and that. And you're like, oh, that's not going to happen to my daughter. And it's like, yo, I have the real conversations with my kids. Like, I date. and
Because it's
stuff
real,
like that.
bro,
They
because
know
that
what's
stuff
going
is
on.
real
It's
life.
real life, and you're
Yeah.
good for teaching them that.
You have
real
to.
life.
People sugarcoat stuff from kids, and kids grow up to be adults,
Right.
and they hate their parents for sugarcoating
Right.
stuff.
Right.
Bro, there's kids that to this day and age still think that the stork is really bringing, really bringing kids out. Like, yo, mommy, look, a stork. I'm like, please don't do that. Please be honest with people. And as I was speaking of honesty, man, stop lying to these women out here. There's no point in lying to another adult about something you don't need to. Be honest and be upfront.
You'll be very surprised.
Be
sometimes.
very surprised. It works.
Not every time. You can't just go up to her and
Honesty is just, it's important. We're adults at the end of the day. If you can't put something on the table, give someone an opportunity to decide if they want to be involved with you, if this is what your life entails.
Right.
If they don't, you've given them an opportunity from the front to not be involved with you.
Right.
I mean, in the process, things can get hard because it's hard for people to remove themselves from you or to remove yourself from someone when emotions are involved. But at the end of the day, adults need to make adult decisions.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can't sit there and be lying and hoping that this girl don't find out you doing this. Yo, tell the truth.
One thing I've learned very well these past few years for me, especially, is that it's so much better just to rip the Band-Aid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just rip the Band-Aid. It sucks. You're going to spend nights like, awake,
Right.
upset,
Crying.
or crying about
I've
this
cried,
person. Or this
We all have
situation.
cried.
We all have. I
I'm
hate
not
when
gonna
people
lie,
say
son,
that.
I'm
We've all cried. But
I'm crying inside right now.
there's gonna be some nights, or just your stomach's gonna turn thinking about who.
Boy.
And I'm not just talking about that type of relationship.
Yeah.
Even people you have to get rid of.
Right.
But it is always better to rip the Band-Aid,
Right.
especially if they're like definitely not the right person for you. You know, one funny thing, side topic. One funny thing I heard before was I don't know about y'all good guys, but they say that when you have daughters, that's the curse for you being a whore.
That's
That
an
was
old
not
tale. I
me,
heard
bro.
that too.
Everyone
but
says that to me.
everybody says
And
that.
yo, I
Jake,
need to find man in the
two
advice. That's not my
next two twins.
I wasn't. I wasn't. Everybody knows my story. No, I wasn't.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Y'all
think
not like
a lot
that,
of people
but-
know my story, but it's just, to me, when I hear that, I'm like, man, that's what people think about me. All right, cool. But I'm always like, I just see it as like the type of males that we are. You
Yeah.
know how we vibe. Like,
Yeah.
I love having girl children. I always wanted like boys first because I'm like, in my family, it's me, my brother, and then my sister.
Right.
And we were there to like protect her, and it was
her.
typical. And I was like, I want boys first. When I had girls, I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy. I have to be big brother.
Right.
And I'm like, I have to be ready, and I'm like, yo, I can't not, like, big brother finds out stuff that like dad doesn't ever find out, right? Or mom doesn't ever find out, and you get to beat on people. So I'm like,
That's
yo,
a
I
good
gotta have
point,
real
bro.
relationships with my kids.
Right.
And I look at them like, because of the type of guy that I am, is like I'm the best person to help raise a little girl because I see that different, and I get to foster. And yo, bro, I be sitting there playing with dollies. These girls trying to friggin' paint my nails. I ain't letting them do that. But the dollies, I'm there playing. I'm like, you gotta do that stuff with little girls. Little boys, they move different, bro.
Right.
Like they just like that. And we're little boys and we're active, and there's things you're doing. You still gotta show little boys that, but little girls, just like you can't not.
You gotta raise
Gotta
them right.
still do that. And for those fathers that are out there that are not doing what they're supposed to do with their kids, fix that shit quick. There needs to be a difference. You can't let your relationship with your baby mother or your baby father affect the way you deal with your child. It is not their fault. They did not ask to come into this world. You need to be able to fight back. People give up real easy. It's like, yo, it's easier for me to say like, yo, I don't want to deal with this girl today, so I'm not even going to go see her. But you dismissed your kid. And then people start to not give you information that is involved. Well, he didn't come, so I'm not telling him about this like piano recital. Like, yo, why didn't you tell me about the piano recital? Like, I didn't even think you wanted to come, but it's already missed. Communication is important. Yo, the anger, you got to get past that first. And it's hard because sometimes you don't get to really just get past the anger, but there's bigger things ahead of that, you know what I mean? So.
Now, there's a topic. We're going to do a couple quick topics before we get out of here. One of them I wanted to talk about on the platform. We spoke the other day, again, on a drunk ride home. We talked about basically the issue of nice guys finishing last.
Yeah.
And women saying they want nice men, but end up with the ass, or seek the ass, or have a nice guy, take them for granted.
Yeah.
I saw matter of fact, I'll play it for you. It was a woman, and like you said, they couldn't come to an agreement. The man ended up dying, and they never got to rekindle that. But I think they had broke up right before that situation. So let me play the clip for you, and then you could hear it for yourself.
Just seen this today.
Divorce before, my first marriage, we made all of the mistakes. Unfortunately, he passed away.
So why did you guys get a divorce?
Because I really wanted something different. It's very unfortunate because he was the most loving, kind person. I had all the love and support that I could have ever wanted. But I think I went through a period wanting money. Like I wanted to be with someone and be at a different level. And I saw him work all of the time. It's one thing to like work and work and work from like 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night, day in, day out, and still have no resources. And for me to work, do the same, and just want a different life.
So, long story short, you wanted a different life and lifestyle than he was able to provide. And so you said, you know what, this, I'm out of here. I need more money.
I was selfish and took advantage of a real unfortunate situation, which was he loved me and David unconditionally, completely unconditionally. And when you love someone like that, you really accept their flaws and you accept less than what you should. So really, I should have been a better wife. Every time we saw each other, like...
I'm sorry because I'm only playing clips that show women in a negative connotation. But men don't do their dirt on camera, all right? So we don't have any clips about
Some of them do.
Yeah, some.
Yeah.
Just,
I get
I
what you're saying about that, because like there is that nice guys finish last syndrome, and I think what's crazy about that is like there's a lot of really good guys around girls that have been watching them mess up for years with the wrong guy, seeing them go through life, seeing them have kids by the wrong guy, seeing them get hurt, that are still there like willing to take them, and the girls are just like, I'm not appealing them. And you gotta understand, something with females is like their life is already kind of set for them, so thrills are important to them. Thrilling situations, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but something about that, like, I can't just get this guy to be this involved in me, is like, I want to figure that out. They're creatures of like fixing, and like, I want to make sure that this guy that everyone hates loves me. And it's like, what is it in that? There's just something about that draw, that there's an allure to like, I want to be the only one that this criminal or this hard to reach person understands and lets in. And that's like an important thing for a lot of them.
I just want to say, like, going back, I feel like she didn't try. There was no effort there.
Yeah.
And again, if you know that this man loved you and this was your soulmate, and you want to live that kind of lifestyle, why not communicate that with him? Work together to get to you to that point. Like, she didn't try at all. She didn't.
Her love wasn't enough.
Yeah,
and she admitted it. And I don't know the situation behind him passing, but love wasn't enough. She wanted money, because she said she seen. Imagine being a man that works that hard and still being able to show that to your woman. Like that's rare in itself.
Right.
But that still wasn't enough for her. So there's always a backstory to everything. Like, she may have been missing something. Growing up and not having money makes you want money so much more.
Right.
You know what I mean? And for me, like, certain things that you see in life, you got to understand, like, look backwards.
Right.
A lot of people won't look backwards to figure out where they're. A lot of our problems that we have right now as adults are rooted when we were kids.
Right.
We just
absolutely
stopped being kids, and we're adults now. So it doesn't. I don't want to talk about that. But that's that's where right
trauma.
now is the trauma. You know what I mean? And when you look at a lot of these females that are going after these guys, it's like, yo, something about that is like, that's that guy that my dad never was, or my dad wasn't. I've always been chasing after that type of guy.
Right.
For me, I'm going to be the first example of the type of guy my kids want. They know what it's like to have that. My daughters. I'm not saying they're not going to choose those guys, but they're going to know that's not what's supposed to be like. And you need to see examples to understand what real life is.
Teaching them right from wrong.
Example is not there for a lot of females, and then there's the media, and then there's real life, and then there's just where you grow up has to do it, how you grow up has to, what you see growing up. There's some people that listen to their stories, and I'm just like, yo, shit that I think is like off the chains is normal to them.
Right.
Like real normal. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that.
Right.
You know? Like, you don't.
Yeah.
Like, and then trying to explain to someone like why that's wrong makes you feel like you're fucking crazy. So it's like,
Or parenting somebody.
yeah, that shit hurts because you hear that stuff and you're just like, yo, I'm trying to just show you that like this. And then when you can say something to someone and then it happens and then they brush it off like, oh fuck, like you wished bad on me or something like that. It's like, no, yo, I'm showing you that path that you just took has a dead end.
Right.
Like I can show you that. Why are you still going there? I need to see for myself.
So in terms of what we've been showing you, can you give maybe a potential flip side? So from the male's perspective, what would some males, take for granted? Or, this woman could be doing the world for them and they're doing wrong by that woman.
Some of the things that I think guys take for granted is the fact that like this world is not set up for females to win. Like it's a crazy idea when you realize how hard they have to work to get at everything that just comes natural to us. It's crazy. So when a woman is really trying with you, women can't even help sometimes but give you their all.
Right.
Their emotions are attached to almost everything that they do because that's how they live. That's how they show appreciation to their emotions. So when a woman is giving you that time and that effort, it is a hard thing to not reciprocate. And there's a lot of guys who are just not in touch with themselves enough to really even say what's on their mind to fix a situation. Yeah. Gotcha. And you can take a person for granted easily like that, that's giving you their all and you're not reciprocating. And I see women reaching for guys a lot. They're just like, yo, all I want is for you to tell me what's on your mind. And for a guy, when you open up like that, it's like, now I told you, now you know what's wrong. I might cry in front of you, so I don't want to do this. And that's enough for me to not do anything. And you're like, he's out of touch, he's out of reach. Right? And I think what guys take for granted is the effort that females put into a relationship from the jump. We don't have to work.
And they like what I meant by off camera earlier was typically, you hear it all the time, it's probably cheating.
Yeah.
And the woman is home doing A, B, C, D for the household, for you guys as a couple, cooking, cleaning, whatever the case is that they may be doing. But that is taken for granted by stepping out.
Right.
And a lot of men do that. That's historically just what men do.
Right.
And there's always the cliche like, yeah, well, men never do it from a place of emotion. Right. So it's like, it's not like we don't love our girl, but like it's BS.
That's right.
It's the easy way out.
It's the easy way out. And not like what was I? To be honest, it's the cheating aspect is not okay. No. And women are doing a lot for that, and you could be taking that. You are taking that person for granted by cheating, right? Because this person now that you're cheating with is probably one of these women that I just showed y'all. Right. And you're like, you're leaving a good woman that is giving you full loyalty, is taking care of your family, to go with some trash that, like, really?
I think that the energy behind cheating, this is just my opinion, I think it's a choice that takes away ownership. Like, if you cheat on someone that you're with, it's almost like you're looking for someone else to be the reason why you didn't have the nerve to say, hey, this is not working for me, and I need to remove myself. Because if you cheat on someone, it's like, now I can say, well, Stacy over there is part reason of this. So like, if she wasn't as sexy as she was, or she didn't give brains away, she like,
hey man, I said it earlier. The got 9,000.
Hold on, you're kind of dating yourself with the term braids. So
I'm dating myself. I'm gonna be 39, whatever.
Ever heard that term in a while?
Brainers.
I hate this. No, this guy said I'm on BBM. Wow. I allow that one still. But what I'm saying is like, you when that happens, you don't get to point the finger at yourself. Because it takes courage to sit there and say, yo, this isn't working, and own it, and then still act on it. But as soon as you do something, now someone else is to blame, and girls can't help, or guys can't help but get mad at the other person and not the person that like, yo, this bitch fucking took my man. Or what did this guy do that stole my girl? And it's like, because it happens to guys too. Right. So you're sitting there and it's like, now that person just jumped you and the blame that you should have and blame someone else for taking you. You can't take nobody out of a relationship. They voluntarily leave. I never heard anyone say like, yo, this person made me fucking cheat on you. Like,
it puts that other person, it puts that other spouse in a position where they're doubting themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, what did I really do this? Did I really do, like, am I really that bad? Like, you know what I'm saying? And it puts them at a dark place.
It sounds so cliche, but one of the things that like girls will say is like, this guy cheated with the ugliest fucking girl. I feel like I'm.
I know she's probably a baddie still, but it just makes you feel better.
Yeah, but it's like then that's when guys will be like, "Oh, I didn't even friggin' like this girl. Like she just okay. Why did you go put your penis in her? Like, am I dating myself a penis too?
Yeah, you are.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
We will make bad choices because they're not ready to make good choices. Like it takes a lot because, and then with their cheating too, like realistically, you're at fault and you don't want to admit it, so you do something easy and you're out. And then a lot of guys don't give up on relations because they don't really have to. Women kind of keep fighting because they're searching to this keep. Right. They want. Just for them to start over, it takes too much work, bro.
Oh yeah.
I understand. I overstand that. When women like, yo, you think I want to have a whole new person meet my mother, my father, my kids, that's a joke. For us, I can have about 15 kids right now. As long as you're a great woman, like, yo, let's go.
So then
that's hubby. Like,
you got to the perfect point for my next question and one of the final questions. What is your advice coming from experience? As you've already said, you went through an 11-year marriage, 2 kids that have grown beautifully, and decided that enough was enough and you had to move on. You know, for not just yourselves, but for the betterment of your family, to see your kids in a better predicament or a better situation. So my question to you, or maybe like what I pose to you, is give people some advice that are in difficult relationships, rocky relationships, or could be that person we're talking about right now that's out there doing dirt because you don't have enough courage to make that decision. What's your advice for those people that need to make that step and separate, especially those that have been in long term?
I think the best for that is to understand that like the hurt doesn't stop the more you try to fix things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're always going to be in a position where you have to change something. People do not like change. They don't embrace it well, but that has been the biggest reason why this world is where it is right now. Things get good and they get bad with change. So especially when you're looking at people in a relationship, you have to sit there and say to yourself, like, look, how many times have I repeated this same situation? Have I learned from it? Because if you don't learn from something, you're literally going to repeat it. So when you're stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do because I don't want to start over, you literally is going to just have to start over. You literally are going to have to try. It's for all the women and men out there, jobs, relationships. I'm going to say just because we're the topic of just dating relationships or whatever, it doesn't make sense to keep fighting for something for it to be lost in the end because people aren't honest with you enough or they give you a proper opportunity to be yourself. If you don't learn about yourself, you're always going to be stuck trying to figure someone else out. And the hardest part about relationships is people get into them wanting to learn everything about that new person and know their self like 25%. And it's like you're still trying to figure yourself out, but you want to know everybody, the next person's favorite color, their birthday, that little thing that happened to them as a kid that threw them off, how they got that scar on their elbow. Like, but what about you? If you haven't figured yourself out, any relationship you get into is going to keep you in a position to feel stuck. Because that person may be giving you something that you can't give yourself, and you'll hold on to that, which will make you hold on to them. Until you learn about yourself, you're not going to be able to move on from anything. And my whole thing is, especially when I talk about my relationship, I know myself very well, and I'm still learning. But I know what I can take. I know what I'm willing to fight for, and I also know when enough is enough. And I've had to do that in almost every relationship that I've moved on from. I've had to be able to say, okay, it's time. And you got to understand, sometimes you can love people from afar and you may have to love them from afar. Just because you're done with someone doesn't mean that you don't love them anymore. I think that's the craziest thing. In my opinion, when someone be like, yo, I'm done with that relationship, I don't love that person. How did you love them for so long and then just stop?
You can't spend, I can't say can't, but the reality is you spend that much time with somebody, there's always going to be that place in your heart for that person.
Yeah, you need to. People in life, you share experiences. To just say you don't love someone when you can say that how bad you put it into before means that you're just trying to protect yourself to be like, well, I couldn't have loved them because if I did, this should hurt so much more. Nah, yo, experience love, experience hurt, and move on, love someone else. If this toxic ass relationship I was in before, if I said, yo, girls, I'm about to never love again and this and that, I wouldn't have got where I am right now. I wouldn't have my kids. I wouldn't have had that long of a marriage that, like, to me was a great marriage, and we moved on. To me, I'm like, I have space in my life to love other people and move on. Joyce has the same thing to do, and I will never stop that for someone, because when you really love someone, you understand that, like, it's not about you.
True, right.
Like, you need them to be happy, and sometimes sticking with someone just because they may want you to leave like crazy.
Right.
And you're there, and they're doing all kinds of shit to you, like cheating on you like every 10 seconds just for you to really leave, because they know they're not going to be the one for you, but they don't have the courage to step up and do this.
Right.
So they're hoping that you, like, you know, when people, like, it's one of those things where it's like self-fulfilling prophecies where you cause shit to go wrong so that, like, someone else can act, so you don't have to do it. Self-destruction. A lot of people do that and they don't realize that, like, cheating is a form of that. Like, how does a guy do it? Like, I love you, baby. He's probably secretly is like, yo, I'm no good for this girl, but she's taking whatever, so I'll do it.
Right.
Most guys are not going to remove themselves like, yo, I've been hurting this girl for so long, I'm done.
Yeah.
That's not the typical thought, but you're hurting yourself in the end from sticking in some. So be willing to start over. Be happy. Embrace it, because some of the greatest things have come from you stepping out of your comfort zone. People love to stay comfortable.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, I've always just stayed comfortably uncomfortable. It can last and it can't at the same time. This world is a parallel path of like a yin and yang. Good and bad will always come back and forth to you. That's just how it is. So just because if you are not willing to try and start over with someone else or something else, you will always stay in the same place. As soon as you start over, there's so much more opportunities open up for you. Every time you take a path, there's the next two you can take.
Right.
Or right left.
True.
Every time.
True.
So, but in the staying and the stagnant, you'll always feel like some people are gonna leave this world stuck.
Yeah.
Never really be in love, never being able to give it away. And it's like, yo, you could have had a whole different relationship with someone else that treated you great, but you have this ideal of what it's supposed to look like. So you're chasing that. And then there's this guy that's ready to give you everything right here, but he's not, he doesn't have a gun. So
He don't have 101K.
You don't have 1K, you have a gun.
Dirty crotches,
so,
yeah.
you ain't like, this guy's going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah, I know.
How did he call girls dirty crotches? How does he know?
Not girl, that one. That one. And I'm sure the gal that would agree with me.
No, that's my level. Just
facts.
embrace change, man. Try something new.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things to close that particular topic that happened to me, we talk about experiences that have happened to us, and a big one that happened to me that a lot of y'all could probably relate to is the fact that I came out of a 3.5 year relationship. That was my longest, and not too long ago, but I was young, and boy was I like, that was my first breakup.
Right.
So I was like shocked. And I was talking with a friend after the breakup. And I'm like, bro, I just wasted 3.5 years of my goddamn life. And he's like, but did you? And I, again, at that age, I'm not thinking along these lines that I am now.
Right.
But he's like, did you really? I'm like, yeah, we broke up. I thought I was going to marry this girl. Like,
yeah.
And he said, well, you didn't waste time.
Right.
But don't you think that you spent 3.5 years figuring out what you like and what you don't like?
Right.
So you spend that time deducing now what you are willing to accept and what you don't want in your next relationship, which is bringing you even closer to that point, like the right point you need to be in. And I thought that was facts. Yeah. It's not ever a breakup. It's you've learned. It's a lesson learned.
Right.
Perspective is everything. How you look at something for real can literally be
everything.
There's a quote that says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's like a lot of people just have a bad idea, like their glasses are fogged, their sight is just like, I'm seeing this, but it's not really there. You have to look at things like, yo, what did that teach me? That's me with everything. I'm just like, what did I learn from this? Oh shoot, I don't like this, and this. Right. So you chase something else. But if you don't learn what you don't like, you're gonna keep getting the same thing.
Yep.
I don't even like soup, but my mom keeps giving this to me. I haven't said nothing to her. She thinks I love it. I like soup, Mom.
Yeah. Now, one thing we like to say too is that when we speak about relationships, we don't always like to keep it specifically to the man and the woman or a partnership like that.
Right.
Speak on other relationships and the importance of those, like maybe in your life particularly, or things that people should hold of value.
Well, for me, friendship relationships have been very big for me because I have to me, a very small circle of people that I'm really close with.
Yeah.
That I've come a long way with, that I've seen my struggles in there, and we've all really been there for each other, and it's still like the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have a lot of acquaintances that go outside of that, but for me, I'm like, I hold like that down. And realistically, you two are like the newest members of that kind of like just solidified that group. Right? Speaking of one of them, Willan right here, my brother, calling me because he should have been here. But those things are important to me because I'm like, I don't need a lot of friends, but I need solid people around me that I can trust. And one of the things is like, I work a lot off of energy and vibration and stuff like that. And like, to me, when you meet people that you mesh with, you need to keep that around you. Look for good people that have similarities with you, but can rock with the same thing, the same mentalities. You know what I mean? And like, you gotta foster that in every element, because like, it doesn't make sense to go into group settings with people that you don't trust, that you don't feel safe with, that you don't feel comfortable with. That like, if I had some shit and I sat here and I started crying about some stuff right now, I can literally be able to say like, yo, you guys would console me about it and be like, yo, this guy's fucking crying on the podcast. Like it'd be like, yo, you guys would console me because I could trust that. Right. But that's the level of understanding that I have for you guys and the love that I have. And I'm like, you guys know, like, I'll tell you straight, I love you guys. Like, that's real shit. Right, check on each other. We're always there for each other. And it's like, that fosters good relationships. Next up that I look at too is like my working relationships. I'm a child and youth worker, and I work in like, I've always worked in a field where to me is like predominantly females. I'm like the only male that works with like literally like there's like 9 females. Right. But I'm dealing with friggin' estrogen and all kind of shit thrown every day. Yeah. And I'm like the weird balance that keeps them all like, because you know when females get in all their cycles link up and shit, it's crazy, bro. Everyone's friggin' Jesus Christ. I know a lot. So I'm gonna get in trouble. It's true, but like facts, though. Females like when they're around each other a lot, their cycles link up. They do. Right. And it gets real interesting, and you gotta sit there and deal with emotion, and sometimes people don't get along and sometimes people do, and you gotta sit there and be like, but it's facts though. You guys like, really want to be mad at each other? We know. Just don't say those things. You just said what I said. No. Don't take any offense, people. That's the thing we're saying. We're just having a broad conversation. I get to be the medium where I'm just like, yo, people will come to me for advice and be like, yo, how do you feel I should deal with this situation? I'm like, well, this is what's going on. You guys don't really need to be friends, but you could work together. We're coworkers. And it's like, it's crazy because females will talk about the craziest stuff around you as a male when they're comfortable with you. And I'm like, you guys really don't realize like I'm a man in here, eh? Like, why are you talking about all this stuff? All kind of freaky shit. Like, women are interesting creatures. But aren't they? I get to sit there and I'm like, all right, cool. So that's how you guys deal with these situations. But they want a male's perspective. And I get to be that male. Right. So I love that aspect too. Honestly, I resonate well with females because I think I empathize with a lot of their plights, and I want to make sure that they're good. Raising 2 females on my own, like of my own, is one of the things that I'm just like, yo, I need to know what's really going on in the world. Right. So I love getting that input from females, and I think that every man should take the time to learn about the female that he's with or the females that surround him. Absolutely. Conversations, bro, like women love to talk. Right. And even the ones that act like they don't, they just got to find the right thing to talk about. Right, you know what I mean? And it's important because it will give you the answers to how to treat them if you're listening. And some guys, like, they listen for that one thing. They're like, yo, let me wait till this girl starts talking about sex. But yeah, that's what I'm on. You on that too? Let's do it. It's like, yo, you're listening for the wrong stuff. That girl just told you how to get that from her if you was paying attention like 3 hours ago, but you waited till you heard the word sex. That's what you jumped on.
And then asked her if she wanted doggy style, a.k.a. Bacchus.
Yo, that was hilarious. I'm like, yo, girls are fed up, bro.
Crying.
So she downloaded the app and like 2 seconds into it, the man said, you like first.
Let me put it. There was, I'll put the post up in the video. This was some scene about the dating app. This is the dating app world in Toronto.
Ladies, I feel for you guys out here, man. Just erase them apps because nothing's happening.
Let's play the clip.
Okay, so never have I ever put a girl in doggy style, aka Bacchus. Like, I've never done it. So, yo, if you're trying to be the first to take my doggy style / Bacchus virginity, you already know. Message me directly. Show me Wagwan with the Wagwan. Like, I'm down.
I couldn't stop laughing at that. I was crying in my bed before sleep laughing. He sounds hilarious. And at first, you know, they had the face blurred? Yeah. I'm like, D-Rock, what are you? It sounded like him, though. D-Rock sounds like a Toronto man. Am I lying? Did it not sound like D-Rock?
Yo, D-Rock, bro.
If you,
No comment.
Now
The
that
thing-
you say it though,
yeah. It sounded like D-Rock. It sounded like that. Big up D-Rock. His birthday is coming up next week.
Wait.
Make
That's
sure,
why I'm celebrating my birthday, by the way.
make sure to come to his party, Rhythm and Booze.
I'm gonna be at that. That's why I'm celebrating my birthday.
Big, you too. So we're celebrating Willard's birthday, D-Rock's birthday, the whole team. All right.
Outside.
Last question, Willard. This is what we do to. This is what we say to our special guests to end the interview. Now, as I said earlier, we talk about a few key subjects weekly that we feel like need to be focused on, and we need to pay attention to the details within the subjects in order as a culture to elevate. Because we all have seen it time and time again. We see it all over the place. We feel like we're being held back because of various generational curses or just not having a full understanding of these things.
Right.
So those 4 topics, I will call them one by one. And literally when I call it, just say the first thing that comes to your mind. So the first one, health.
Strength. I don't know why that came to
No, whatever it is.
explain it.
Whatever it
You want
is.
explanations on it? or
You could,
just
yeah,
say-
if you would like.
Strength is just in the sense of like working hard to make sure like you're taking care of yourself physically is huge because it's gonna benefit you at the end of your life. So your health has like your strength really has to do with your health. If you're taking care of yourself right now, when you're older, it's gonna be important. There's a lot of people that didn't get the same information that we have in this day and age to understand like what certain foods are doing to your body. And then now that you're older, they're paying for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But we have an advance where it's like, yo, we could stop eating certain things right now, live in a certain way so that we have strength to be able to carry ourselves when our bones are deteriorating.
Got you.
True.
Next one, entertainment.
Music.
Music's important to you.
Very. To me, because it's got me through a lot of tough times. I love music, all genres. If it's got like anything that'll make me move, I know it's something good to it. I'm a lyricist, so I love when I hear people put lyrics together in a song, and I'm just like, that's wild. And I just think it's key. Music just transcends. It can
Gotcha.
get anyone out of any state.
Wicked. That's our profession. So
Yeah.
we know that for first
Love
time. Third, wealth.
Structure.
Okay, it's
And
interesting.
I think one of the things you have to develop right now, I'm learning this too, is there's a structure for how you have to do things financially that will get you to that place wealth-wise. And the structure has to do with like spending. You have to be able to look at the way you're spending your money to be able to keep it.
Gotcha.
A lot of people don't realize like simple things. You could easily go out to dinner and spend $50 on a dinner, but that could have been $50 worth of groceries.
Yeah.
But some people don't know how to cook, so it's not gonna benefit them. But if you know how to cook and you spend $50 worth of groceries, you can carry that. So it's
Yeah.
about looking at the structure of how you're spending your money, where you're spending it. It's gonna bring it back to you a different way.
Dope. I like that one. And one valuable thing I heard before we get to the last one is somebody had said, you know, when it comes to saving and saving your bread, saving your money, they were like, instead of thinking about wealth in terms of saving your money in order to be wealthy, think about instead of how do I save money, how do I make more to put away.
Right.
So, or like if something costs X amount of dollars and you're like, well, I have to save up for it. Instead of thinking, okay, well, how do I save and cut back? Think more along the lines of what else can I do to make more money to buy that?
Right.
You know, and that will improve not just your saving ability, but your capabilities of making something more.
Yeah.
The last one, I know we've spoken damn near 2 hours about it, but the first thing that comes to mind, relationships.
Women. I'm not gonna lie, I love women. I love you guys.
Yeah.
It's just for me where I am right now. Like I said, I mentioned it a bit earlier. Like I'm dating and stuff. I love getting to know females.
Yeah.
I think there's so much interesting things about you guys that if you stop and listen and some of you really, if you gave the right guy a chance, you'd get what you want for the rest of your life.
Right.
Yeah.
So get out of your own ways. Like really, like just take your time and figure yourself out so that you can give a right guy a chance, not the wrong guy.
Right.
There's a lot of you women out there, and I think a lot of guys are wasting your time, and that's something you don't get back. So for me, I'm just like, women are always like my focus. And you guys will be the first to say this. When I tell you, like, when you throw your parties and stuff like that, cater towards females. They're the biggest consumers of everything. If there's gal in the party, there's guys in the party, and girls just they love everything that works. So when you play music for the gal them.
True.
Play songs that they can relate to. Get female DJs out there. Rate all the female DJs that are doing their thing because it's a hard place to get into at this niche. And I big up Mary B because she held her shit down the other day, and I heard at the Clash and killed it. And I rate her as a DJ, so she's gonna be doing her thing. Anyone else out there, just pay attention, big up yourselves, and keep pushing.
Big up, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You know,
we were really racking our brains to try and find a guest in terms of relationships.
Right.
And I was literally like, yo, we always talk with Willard about relationships. Why not have him?
Facts.
And he has
I'm
a story
still
to share.
figuring this stuff out. I don't have it down pat.
None of us have all the answers.
Yeah.
Like JKD has said, we're all still learning.
Right.
And to touch back on the relationship in terms of friends, again, like when you see Willard or when you speak to Willard, you're speaking to me.
Facts.
You understand? And this is literally a guy where a lot of people don't really know this, especially if you're not in the industry, but I made him my manager. Do I know what that means? No. Does he know what that means? No. But I literally heard Kevin Hart say one day that his manager that he has all till now was one of his best friends from back in the day.
Right.
And all they did was shake hands and said, you do right by me. I want you to ride this wave with me.
Right.
Till today, that's still his manager. And one thing I've always taken pride in is formatting my circle of people, which, as I said, is you, JKD, and my sister. Those are like my core people, and I would ride with y'all until the end because you could teach these people anything.
Right.
I could teach Willard to do whatever, and I'm confident he'll get it done.
Right.
I could teach JKD, I could teach my sister to do a task, and I'm certain they'll get it done. But what you can't teach is the loyalty. You can't teach good hearts. You can't, those things are inherent. And once I see that, that's who I want surrounding me.
Right.
I don't need the best of the best people or DJ or manager, whatever the case is.
Right.
I need y'all because you guys have showed me what I need without me asking. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's what Willard has been for me. And he's been an amazing person just to speak with. Even if you're hearing this podcast and you just love the story, you love how Willard is speaking, message him. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. He'd love to speak with you,
Right.
hear what you have to say. And then, as I said, he's gotten me through a lot of my darkest moments. Just listening to what he has to say has changed the trajectory of my moods, of me feeling, as I said, like I was drowning in a situation, to now feeling okay because this guy's dealt with it and he's okay.
Right.
And I never would have even known you dealt with half of those things if I didn't go through my situation, right? So, he's a stand-up guy, and I encourage everybody to give him a follow. Where can they follow you?
You can find me on Instagram at BL3553D. Blessed one.
Why are you shaking your head?
It sounds like an infomercial, man.
Yeah.
That
That sounds like a phone number.
Oh, yeah.
It sounded a little like my phone number.
Like I said, it's not just a name; it's a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like,
True.
I really believe that. So that's BL3553D_1. I really do believe I'm blessed because of the things that happened to me in life. There's real situations that I could have not been here anymore, and I'm here. So I look at life a little bit different. I appreciate every moment I meet. This shit is real. We're pushing this, and with the way that we move, like I said, it's all love, and we're about to kill this summer.
Yeah,
It's
man.
not a joke. We're about to kill this.
We're about to kill the rest of our lives. We're about to kill this everything.
Hey.
Everything we gonna do, we might as well call ourselves Midas. Whatever we touch is gonna turn to gold. I promise you that.
Whoa.
Anyways, people, make sure to give us a follow. YouTube, hit us up there, especially. You could see us and listen to us. YouTube, subscribe, The People's Podcast. That's The People, PPLS Podcast on YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Right.
Again, we love when you comment. We love when you like. The like helps the algorithm, gets us to the top of the platform so people could discover us a lot better. Once again, JKD, what are we looking for?
We are looking for people who are working in the hotel industry and people who have links with the airlines. So, WestJet, Air Canada, all of them.
Perfect. And last but not least, any businesses that would like to sponsor this podcast, we're putting in a lot of work specifically for the betterment of our community. So especially if you are a Black-owned business or something like that, and you have sponsorship money, this is the perfect place to send it. It helps it helps invest into people that are part of the project, and it helps invest to create something that will grow to a much larger scale faster.
Yeah.
So business sponsorships, that's very important. We would kindly ask if any businesses would like to sponsor us. And last but not least, if anybody would like to donate their time, if anybody would like to intern with us, come and join the People's Podcast. We're looking for video designers that could edit this podcast after the fact. We're looking for motion graphic designers, those type of things.
Yeah.
We have a video producer, Deli. We have our analytics rep. I don't know what the term to be is. I'll give him a proper term later, but Skippy, big up Skippy.
Yes, sir.
Big up Skippy, and big up Farm. All right?
Yes.
So thank you once again, Millard.
You know.
That's another episode of the People's Podcast. We'll see you next week, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.